So, not long ago, the YouTube algorithm put a video from Dr. Ben Miles in front of me. We finally understand why bats live so long. Really early in the video, he briefly puts a pair of graphs on the screen when he's making a point about larger mammals tending to have longer lifespans than smaller mammals. I immediately saw that something was wrong with that left graph, and it didn't take long for me to notice other issues. So his header says average lifespan in years, but cats and dogs definitely don't live 30 years on average, the way the graph on the left says. The graph on the right has correct, or at least closer to the correct values, somewhere between 14 and 15 years for cats and dogs, assuming good conditions. That's reasonable. Well, maybe the graph on the left is just mislabeled and it's meant to list maximum lifespans. Well, no. If you look at human, or you look at elephant, those are basically the average lifespans, right? He has human between 70 and 80, elephant somewhere between 50 and 60. Elephants, if it were just mislabeled and it was meant to be the maximum lifespan, elephant would be much higher and human would be much higher. So it looks like whoever made the graph on the left mixed average lifespans and maximum lifespans in the same... Well, no, not that either. What's going on with lions? What's going on with tigers here? Lions don't live for 55 years. The longest lived lion that we know of, Arjun, died short of 30 years of age. And the graph also has tigers living for over 30 years. When I looked up the longest lived tiger, I got two contradictory results, but in both cases the tiger died around 25 years, so there's no way their average lifespan's over 30. And again, the graph on the right has much more reasonable values, somewhere around 7 years on average for tigers and 16 or 17 for lions. It's a bit hard to eyeball values on the axis is a logarithmic scale, but that will be about right for female lions at least. The left graph's value for a rat's lifespan is pretty questionable too. Rats don't typically live for more than 3 or 4 years, and it has rats sitting at about 10. I'm not even sure where to start with monkey and whale. If you're going to talk about the average lifespan of a whale, you need to specify a species. Bowheads can live for centuries. A beluga or a pilot whale might be lucky to live past 60. As for the heart rates for whales, you're not only looking at big differences from species to species, but a huge difference depending on whether a whale's on the surface or diving. A blue whale that's under the water might have a heart rate of 2 or 3 beats per minute. And a beluga that's on the surface, I saw a couple of sources that would say up to 100. The point is there's vast difference from one species of whale to another. Similarly, trying to assign an average lifespan to monkeys as a whole runs into problems. A baboon's going to outlive a tamarin by a really long way. It's going to have several times the lifespan of a tamarin. Okay, so what's actually going on here? Did Dr. Miles just mess up when he made the graph on the left? Well, no, because he didn't make it to start with. Here's where things are going to get kind of funny. I initially thought it was just a mistake on his part, started writing a comment, then I looked at the two graphs again. They didn't look like something that somebody just briefly put together to flash in a YouTube video, so I decided to Google heart rate and lifespan and just check the images tab. And sure enough, I was greeted by a page full of results that were mostly either both of these graphs together or just the one on the left. The version of Dr. Miles' video seems to be from a University of Notre Dame page, Live Fast, Die Young, A Rate of Living Theory by Icelebi. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. It's Icelebi. But that page says the graphs were adapted from a 2006 article. And let me quickly show the Icelebi version here. There we go. And it says this is adapted from Cook et al. 2006. So that is an article in the European Heart Journal. There we go. And you'll see, when they say adapted, they really just mean that they took the graphs, instead of having them one on top of the other, they put them side by side. That's really the only difference, apart from adding like an A and B. So this is from a 2006 article in the European Heart Journal by Cook, Togney, Schaub, Winniswer, and Hess. I might be mispronouncing some of those names. I'm sorry if I do. There's a kind of a bright spot here. This does actually mention a specific species of whale in the table out to the side, but the data in this graph does not match the data for the blue whale here. If you look at the lifespan and heartbeat listed, it's not for the blue whale. And this doesn't really match the one in the second one either. I think this is just separate data that's not really related to the graphs. But anyway, even this article says this was redrawn from Levine. This is an earlier article, I think from a 1997 volume of the Journal of the American College of Cardiology. That's right here. Yeah, Journal of the American College of Cardiology. There we go. Oh, this graph looks a lot better, right? It still has monkey listed as a single data point. It has 2 different data points for whales, maybe different species. I'm not sure. It doesn't specify a species. Lion expectancy still looks a little high here. I don't think lions would be above 20, even for... Anyway. But anyway, this is much better than what we're seeing in the other graphs. This makes a lot more sense. Dog and cat both look like they're somewhere in the teens. Tigers maybe around, I don't know, 12 or 13, somewhere in the teens here. This makes more sense. Okay, so what happened between this article and the Cook et al. Article? I don't really know. The Cook article says the graphs are redrawn from Levine, but they don't match what's actually here. Or at least the one, that first graph definitely doesn't match this one. Plenty of sites are actually using the original, luckily. Unfortunately, there are a bunch that are using the wrong one too. There's one article in the Bend Bulletin by Markian, I'm probably going to butcher this name, sorry, Markian Haraluk and Andy Ziegert. It has something similar to the Cook version here. I don't, sorry, let me go back to the, actually show the Miles version here. It has something similar to the one on the left, but a bit fancier. They have little outlines for the animals, like somebody took the time to make it look a little bit nicer, but it unfortunately is the same bad data. And there's even a page on the Open University website that has exercises based on the bad graph over here. So it's kind of funny that, you know, all these years later, people are still kind of just blindly using the Cook graph without really thinking much about it. It seems, especially if you have these two side by side, you should start noticing things like, okay, the life expectancy given over here for things like, 55 for lion definitely doesn't match what's over here, where it correctly has lion somewhere under 20. In conclusion, I don't really know what happened to cause Cook's article to have a garbled and just plain wrong corruption of the graph from Levine's original article. For all I know, it could have been an editing error, and maybe there was even a correction that I just don't see when I look online. The PDF I found of the Cook article was made publicly available on ResearchGate by Marcus Schaub, one of the authors. I'm not entirely sure it's even the final version of the article. However, people are definitely still using that bad graph, sometimes even with the other one right next to it that ought to show them that something is wrong. One last thing. Of course, I first saw this graph in Dr. Miles' video, which was just briefly shown to support a side remark before he goes on to talk about the rate of living theory and Bechstein's bats and so on. I want to get clear, I'm not really attacking his conclusions here. I just want to call attention to this graph and the fact that it's being kind of used over and over and over again, despite the fact that it has really obviously wrong things on it. The one thing I will fuss about regarding Dr. Miles is that he kind of tossed the graph up on the screen, didn't really give any indication of where he got it. I initially thought that it was just something he had made himself. Just a little blurb on the screen or a reference in the video description would have saved me a good bit of time. I'm guessing he got it from the page on Notre Dame's website just because his formatting matches that version of it, right, with the A-B, side by side, and not the others. Well, thanks for listening.